right, I'll call the Sherwood City Council special meeting into session at 7 p.m. on December 12th, 2023. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Sylvia, roll call.
Mayor Rosner?
Here.
Council President Mays?
Here.
Councilor Browse?
Here.
Councilor Young?
Here.
Councilor Scott?
Here.
Councilor Giles?
Here.
Councilor Stankey?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sylvia. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make motion to approve the agenda. Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, council. Citizen comments. Sylvia, do we have any comments for the council meeting? Awesome. Thank you. All right. Jim Claus. Jim. Jim?
You're up.
Now, just,
Welcome, Jim.
Robert James Claus, 2221 Southwest Pacific Highway. Just so I understand this, you are going to have comments on your new business, public comments. Item 6A. Yes?
Jim, public comment's not for questions.
I can't hear you.
As I
I'm sorry,
told you
Jim.
before the meeting, public comment is item 5, so feel free to give your comments at this point.
Well, I'm not sure I'm not sure if that's a yes or a no, but nothing's new about
We're
that.
having
Okay.
public
My
comment
problem
right
here is
now.
very simple. There is conflict of interest on this board if it involves the YMCA and it involves high school. And anyone who's on the YMCA board or has been on the YMCA board has a conflict of interest. Now, I tell you that if you haven't been on the board and you haven't had any conflict of interest and you were not involved in the attempt when the earlier mayor tried to have a public bidding on that to maximize the profit, and you didn't work with any community groups, you have nothing to worry about. But I have seen repeatedly, for instance, during the Langer hearings on Walmart, where Matt Langer, unfortunately in high school with my older boy, said, no, it's not Walmart. No, you didn't need to say anything. And the mayor said the same thing. That was Keith Mays. Now, why am I telling you that? Because if you have a conflict of interest, you cannot vote on those matters. For instance, being on the board of directors of the YMCA may preclude you even from in this hearing tonight. Now, I say that because I've been very easy. We should have gone after Matt Langer, Susan Meyer, the attorneys, who is an alumni at Stanford. I have good standing with her in the ethics committee. She said, Jim, you should have brought that to us immediately. He didn't have to say anything, but once he said it, it had to be the truth. And the same thing with Mr. Mays. Oh, I'm simply trying to give you adequate notice, as I am suggested to do, to try to retract from those conflicts of interest. Because the problem is you can't get in these subjects without running into a conflict and interruption with your reaction. Now, for instance, you've said that you could take Cedarbrook Way as a non-exaction. Turns out you're violating the state constitution and you're violating appellate case law. Now, you can take those risks if you're willing to give up sovereign immunity. Because this is a qualified sovereign immunity state, the 11th Amendment grants it. Now, why do I tell you this? Because the group that we file with wants to make clear in the council that if there's been some mistake and some misunderstanding from some of you, and some of you list everything you're in. We've already pulled your conflict, your interest statements. But the reason I tell you that is because I'm getting sick of spending $100,000 and then having the engineer in this city come and stop us cold and ask us to give him 3 acres and $5 million. That's ridiculous. He should have never been given that authority in the first place. And the same thing goes for Ms. Haidu. But we will take their depositions as it proceeds, and I have to exhaust administrative remedies, and this is the first step. If anybody has any relationship with the Y, step down and get out of the room. You're interfering the political process. And I don't care if you're paid or not, you're interfering with it. And I'm gonna do my best to see to it you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, we have item number 6 is new business. We have one resolution. Today it's resolution 2023-085 authorizing the city manager pro tem to prepare a loan from the city to the Urban Renewal Agency to assist in the construction of the Highway 99 West pedestrian bridge project. Council discussion. Or I guess we should get a report. Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. I'm sorry, Jason.
Oh, that's all right. I was just going to introduce this resolution and let you guys have a discussion on it. Jason Waters, city engineer. Thank you, Mayor. Here with David Bodway. You've read the staff report. We bid the project. We had a work session. We've conducted value engineering with Carter and Company. We've reduced the base bid by $1,983,000 or $983,800 down to $21,988,411.80. We issued the notice of intent to award the contract yesterday. That will expire next Monday, after which if we award these two resolutions, we can execute a contract to build the pedestrian bridge. Also, this resolution here is authorizing a loan for $12 million, and David Bodway, our finance director, can speak to that a bit more, and then we can have an open discussion on the matter.
Yeah, so the resolution in front of you is just authorizing a loan up to $12 million. And the reason why I use that verbiage up to $12 million is currently in the URA, when we get to that meeting, there's outstanding contracts, work still being done, so I allowed the flexibility to for those projects still to continue. And the need with the monies that are in the URA plus this $12 million will cover that cost of the bridge, to build that bridge. There's some additional costs like construction management, staff personnel, so it just allows that flexibility. And at a later time, I would say in the near future, we're gonna have to get together a work session, look at the loan terms, interest rate, and kind of the repayment schedule. And even the drawdown, because I can't imagine a contractor's going to want the full amount right up front, or that we would pay that amount. So maybe we draw down on that up to $12 million loan just to save on interest expense in the Urban Renewal Agency. So that's kind of why I use that verbiage, up to.
All right, thank you, David. Jason, questions?
Can you remind us and tell the public where the $12 million is coming from? What funds?
Yeah, so one of our largest funds is the City Water Fund, and so they have a lot of reserves for future projects that are about 10, 12 years down the road. I think I estimate about 10, 12 years down the road. And we're going to want to build a repayment schedule just to allow any future projects within the next 10 years, just so they can accomplish some of the needs that the water fund has. But yeah, it's coming from the water fund. It's not going to raise any rates I want to assure the public out there, it's not going to cause a raise in your water rates by us doing this. This is just a pot of money that they have in reserves for future projects that we're going to borrow against and be required to pay back, because those are restricted funds that we have to pay those back.
So is there any risk of the payback schedule not being met in time to do those projects when they need to be done? Like, do we get to a point 7, 8, 9 years from now and be like, oh man, we need to build this water project, but we haven't gotten enough of the payback yet and we can't do it, or we have to find the money from somewhere else? Like, what's the risk of that?
I would have to look at Craig a little bit into speaking about the water fund, but then there's also additional options in the URA to where they may pay this back early, because at some point in the future, I'm going to be hiring the original consulting firm, I'm going to have a conversation with her either this week or next week to relook at that URA plan, kind of look at the future TIF revenue, just to try to decide at what point, what year do we think we can go out for an additional loan in the URA, and maybe that's an option to pay back the water fund early or not. But
So putting aside, like, obviously those kind of things, there's a myriad of unknown futures that could happen.
yes,
But absent those, is there any risk at all in knowing what we know and assuming that doesn't happen? Are we going to get the money back in time to be able to meet our water infrastructure needs?
yeah, the one big project, and Craig could talk about this, is about 10 years down the road, potentially for the next upgrade at the Willamette intake facility. And the way budget law works is this loan has to be paid back in 10 years. So by then, we're going to have the money paid back. And so, I don't know, Craig, if you...
I'm just trying to understand, is the risk non-existent, extremely low, medium?
The information that we have right now is, like David said, the treatment plant expansion is probably 10 years out. We would start working on that probably year 8, right? So we'd have some money going out, but that's probably our biggest expense unless something actually happens between
That we don't know.
Right,
Some
right. That's our-
unexpected catastrophe.
I mean, there's still money in the water fund when working with David to do like our master planning and some of the upgrades that we need to do. But that's our biggest expense, is probably 10 years out.
Okay, thank you.
And there's, and that TIF revenue is going to continue to grow on that urban renewal agency, especially with some of the projects that are still currently under construction that have yet to hit our tax rolls. So I would say it's kind of a lower risk, but there's always risk in anything you do.
Thank you.
And David, if I understand correctly, the reason we're looking at doing an internal loan instead of like doing a bond against future TIF revenue is just because where interest rates are right now.
Interest rates, and when you have the availability internally to one agency to another, yes, there's going to be interest expense involved, but when you go out on the market, when you're going out for debt with investors, usually you can end up paying $200,000 to $300,000 in whether it's underwriter fees, bank fees. And so there's cost savings there by, if we have the ability to do it internally, we're saving some money there as
Then
well.
you're paying interest to yourself,
Yes.
not another outside bank.
And I should also point out that long-term with Sherwood West, we have other options potentially down the road, like local improvement districts and other mechanisms that we can use to pay back some of those funds. as well.
That's correct.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so
Yeah, go ahead.
how, do you know what the timeline is for that work session then for the details of the loan?
Well, since the holidays are upon us, it's going to be one of the 2 in January is my goal for us to all sit down. The first key is for you folks to authorize the loan, and then we can get to work from there, because I want to sit down with Craig, analyze the water fund, make sure I have kind of an understanding of all the projects within the next 10 years and the needs of that fund. Work with that consulting company, look at the projected growth of the TIF revenue to kind of understand, because I'm sure the URA board at one point is going to want to know, well, when can we go out for another loan? And so I want to be able to provide that information too. So I know that first meeting is a little tight, so it might be more like the second meeting in January. Right now, that URA, I project, has at least of about $15 million in fund balance to start that bridge project. So we have the money to get going on the bridge project, but eventually we're going to figure out that loan. I'd rather do it sooner than later. Maybe we won't draw down on that loan right away, but at least that mechanism will be there.
And for anyone from the public listening, with URAs, it's called tax increment financing, and it's a way of raising money off property taxes, but it doesn't increase property tax rates for any of the citizens. You're basically shifting revenue from different agencies around. So it's reliable revenue that we can get loans against to pay back in the future, but obviously we want the interest rates and the economics of that to make sense when we do that. And just to compliment to you, David, you've done some amazing work in the past when interest rates were low, going out and issuing those bonds to get that money and then putting it in the bank and making more money than we were on the interest rates, so which is great.
Thank you.
So I say that because staff does a really good job of thinking through how we manage our monies and our finances and our investments. So that gives me confidence. So,
Thank you.
any other questions?
I have a question for Alan.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Taylor.
Oh, you can go ahead. I'll ask after you.
Mine's a legal question, so if yours is about,
Oh, okay. So, in addition, so let's just assume the risk is, medium low to low on this. Is there an opportunity cost though that we are not, by borrowing this money now, we're not able to do some of the other URA funds like the Ice Age Drive or something like that because we've now borrowed the money and so it's not there to borrow for the next one. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say projects will be maybe delayed because with the URA plan, the board or city council, they can decide on what projects they want to move forward, what projects they want to move back, and so it is tough to say opportunity costs given just where the market is right now. For example, if we're talking about Ice Age Drive. Commercial development is slowing a little bit, but not here in Sherwood. So it's really a council decision whether they want to move forward with the bridge or not, and the URA board. That's your decision, but it's just delaying some projects. That's why I want to get that analysis done so we can kind of look at the plan again and kind of look at, okay, what project will we be working on next and so forth. Does that answer your question, Councilor?
Yes, thank you.
Taylor, Kim?
so Alan, for the benefit of the public who's listening, can you remind us what a conflict of interest would be for council?
Sure. Conflict, or two kinds of conflict of interest. There's actual conflict of interest and potential conflict of interest. An actual conflict of interest will be where, say, you're purchasing property, you or your family members have an interest in that property. And a potential property interest could be, would it be you have a property 6 blocks away or something. It could be potential conflict, and if there's going to be some impact on you. So, with its actual conflict, it means it'll actually either give you a dollar benefit or a dollar detriment. And potential means it could impact you. And if you have an actual conflict, it means you have to recuse yourself and you can't vote on it. A potential conflict of interest, you can talk about that and see and still decide to vote as long as you disclose it. You say, I have some property 6 blocks away. This might affect the traffic in front of my house. But then you have to say whether it will affect you or not. But it's not going to affect my opinion. You can still vote. So that's how that works.
Thank you. I have no conflict of interest on this resolution.
Hey, Alan, I don't have an actual conflict of interest. I don't even have a potential conflict of interest because I don't, unless you say my house is 1.5 miles from the project that this loan would help build. I am a trustee or on the board of directors now for the YMCA that has a lease with the city on the property, but I don't believe that is a conflict.
And Councilor Mays, do you get paid to do that?
No.
See, that wouldn't be a conflict. There's no financial benefit or detriment. You're serving on a volunteer board, and it benefits that nonprofit, all the better. I mean, there's no conflict of interest there.
Thank you, Alan.
Are we discussing conflicts? Or I don't have
I
any
just
questions,
did,
but I
'cause-
wanted to move to, let me know when we're in discussion mode, so.
Yeah, I think.
I just wanted that
just
question
out of an
answered
abundance
since
of
it's
comment, I
brought
don't
to-
have a conflict, so.
I have no potential or actual conflicts
Yeah.
of any kind.
The nature of a loan, yeah,
All right,
or a project, yeah.
great. Any other questions for staff?
Those two asked my questions, so I feel good.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, discussion from council.
Yeah, I have had, as we know in our work session, I've had some concerns and reservations about the cost of this project and where it started and where it's at now and this loan and some potential ability to deliver on other projects that are either potentially the water fund now or in the URA backlog of projects, if you will. That said, I do believe this bridge is an important part of the future of the city and this community. And I do believe that if we walk away from it now, we're out $3 million in spent money. We're out $4+ million in allocated funding from the state that will go away. So, and if we come to build it in the future, it's not going to be cheaper. It's not going to be easier. So, despite my reservations and some of the risks, I do believe in this project, and I think it's something we need to do for the future, and we'll figure out a way through. Again, I'm not saying the risks are low, so that gives me the confidence that I think we're going to navigate it successfully, and I think that's in part to how well we've done as a council, as a budget committee, and as staff in managing our finances in this city over the last decade or so. So kudos to everyone who's been involved in that, and allows us now to, I think probably one of the reasons I have reservation around this is I wouldn't even call this risky, but it's more risky than we've ever been. And so that we're kind of on some uncharted territory, or maybe a little bit uneasy and uncomfortable territory for a lot of us. And I'm someone who's pretty fiscally conservative in general, but this is a project that isn't going to get any easier to do or any cheaper to do. So I'm fully on board this, and I'm in favor of this resolution.
Thank you, Doug. Kim?
Yeah, I agree with Counselor Scott. I had my reservations or concerns. Obviously, we've been most of us, I think all of us, have been supportive of this bridge throughout the project. We were a little stunned when the bids got opened and prices costs had gone up tremendously. I had conversations with our finance director today to sort of assuage some of my concerns and really get an understanding as well, which he also gave a report on today. But I think this bridge is important. We've been talking about it with our community for several years now. And as we're now also talking about Sherwood West and possible UGB expansion, that bridge is just going to be the thing that connects east and west Sherwood with the 99 divide. And I think it's a good thing for the future. And I like the low risk there. There's never not a risk, right? But it's low, I think, from what we understand. So I am in favor.
Thank you, Kim. Anybody else?
I would say ditto, and add that when we spoke in the work session, we talked about the safety issue, we talked about the connective issue. I want to make sure that we go farther in the connector piece, whether it's through the trail system or whatever. I really want to do our due diligence with that, finalizing the connector. I don't want it to just be words that we're connecting east and west. I want to see us fill that gap. Otherwise, what these two have already stated, that's already been said. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Renee. Taylor?
Yeah, so I think I share similar concerns. I think, unfortunately, I'm probably a little bit on the other side of the halfway line. I am worried that this bridge, I've expressed these concerns in the work session as well, but I don't know that it connects in the way that we were hoping, and I feel like the price was enough to have me relook at it and see if this is what is actually needed in this area versus diversification of the tax base by doing the Ice Age Drive first. And we have some land over there and stuff. And so, it's almost a coin toss for me, but I think just from my conscience, because of the price tag, and I know it's not going to get cheaper, but that also, that also would help us get creative and potentially connecting the two sides. Because we're just not a walking community in Sherwood, because we do have great trails and there's people that are jogging, but we need connections that are drivable until we get more walkable areas in the zone that do it. So I'm currently on the no side of going forward with this process.
All right.
But you know, I've expressed these concerns before, so it shouldn't be a surprise.
All right, thank you, Taylor. Dan, did you have anything?
Yeah, similar thoughts with Councilor Scott and Councilor Young about the finances and kind of the position that we're in. Unfortunately, it's not ideal, but I think that with all of the other factors, with the outside funding and the money already spent into it, that this is the right decision right now. And from what I've heard from the finance director and members of council, that we feel confident enough to go forward with this project, knowing that we have future projects that we still want to be working on and completing. And so with that, I am in favor of this.
Thank you, Dan. Keith?
I appreciate everyone's comments, including Councilor Brouse's, on the importance, and as we discussed, of the pedestrian connectivity that this provides, and make sure that as we take further steps with Sherwood West, that is only emphasized even more. I was heartened when I was reviewing the adopted Sherwood West master plan and how it talks a great deal about that in the master plan that was adopted already, but just to keep that on the forefront as we take future steps is important. So I'm very supportive, and with that, I move we approve resolution.
I want to give comments.
You can. I'm gonna make a motion.
No, wait a second.
I move resolution 2023-085.
Really going to do that?
You can still give comments.
All right.
Go ahead.
Anyways, no, I
I know I'm being
yeah, you're being Keith. So I generally appreciate, I do appreciate, I shouldn't say generally, I was going to say generally agree, but I really appreciate everyone's comments. And I wanted to say a couple of things. A lot of my peers that I work with in the county, other mayors in other cities in the county, are not in this position. They have budget deficits. They're trying to figure out how to fill budget holes. They don't have healthy water funds and other funds in their organization that even give them the option to have these conversations. So, and that says a lot about our staff and this council and previous councils who really had a strong look toward fiscal responsibility and make sure we were projecting out years in advance and staying healthy as a community. Financially, I also, you know, as we were talking up here, I was remembering back 5 years ago when we started throwing around this idea of building a pedestrian bridge. And all the work we did down in Salem to get the $4 million in lottery money that's coming toward this bridge. Thank you, Courtney Neron, our House representative, for all her hard work on that. I remember the literally hundreds, when I was down in Salem doing speed dating with all the House reps and senators and stuff that had influence in whether we could get this into what they call the Christmas tree bill in Salem that comes out at the end of each session. Literally, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds and hundreds of letters from citizens in our community that supported getting this bridge and supported connecting our community. So I always kind of go back to that. That's my rudder. That's how I steer the ship in terms of what the community wants. And so I think that's really important. And then just to talk about the project for a second, I really view this, someone called it a generational project. Can't remember who that was, but that really sunk in for me because the way I look at it, this is a project a city like Sherwood does once every 20 or 30 years. And when you think about it, you know, as you start to imagine what Sherwood West is going to look like in 30 years when that's all built out and we have the connectivity and we have that landing pad that like Councilor Browse talks about, connecting it, making sure we're connected as a community. That's kind of my vision and what I see out there. You know, obviously it's the safety of our kids getting to and from school, but more importantly, it's connecting our community. So I'm very excited about this project. I share the reservations. I think we have to continue to be fiscally responsible, continue to prioritize things, you know, as they come in and as we can afford them. So I obviously think you can gather from that, I'm supportive of this project. So I think we had halfway through a motion if you want to go ahead and finish it now.
I move to approve resolution 2023-085, authorizing the city manager pro tem to prepare a loan from the city to the Urban Renewal Agency to assist in the construction of Highway 99 pedestrian bridge project.
Second. Renee got it.
Got a motion and a second, and yes, Renee got that one. Thank you very much, council. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2023-085, authorizing the city manager pro tem to prepare a loan from the city to the Urban Renewal Agency to assist in the construction of the Highway 99 West pedestrian bridge project, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right, thank you, council. Motion passes. All right, at this point, we are going to adjourn to the URA Board of Directors meeting. We're going to do it here. All right. Oh, yeah. I got it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call our URA Board special meeting to order. Sylvia, roll call.
We have Chair Rosner,
Here.
Vice Chair Mays,
Here.
Board Member Browse,
Here.
Board Member Young,
Here.
Board Member Scott,
Here.
Board Member Giles,
Here.
Board Member Stankey.
Here.
Thank you.
And we have a consent agenda here, but just real quickly, anyone wanted to give public comment on the URA board? Did you get any sheets for that?
No.
Okay, I just was going to say we should modify the agenda if we had public comment, but if we don't. So we'll go right onto the consent agenda. We have two items. Approval A is approval of the August 15th, 2023 URA board meeting minutes. And item B, approval of the November 21st, 2023 URA board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, council. Motion passes. New business. So we have one resolution on the agenda tonight. It's URA Resolution 2023-011, authorizing the agency manager to enter into a public improvement contract with Carter & Company, Inc. for the construction of the Highway 99 West pedestrian bridge. Jason, you're up again.
All right, thank you. This is pretty much the same resolution here. It's to award the base bid contract to Carter & Company for the amount of $21,988,411.80 and authorize a 10% construction contingency. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll just let you guys go on into a discussion.
Any questions? And I'll just add, for anyone listening, because we just had a council meeting and now we're having a URA meeting. The bridge actually falls within our urban renewal agency, so that'll be the head agency for this project. So the previous resolution was just to authorize the city to loan money to the URA to finish that project. So the actual contract will be managed by the URA. Yes.
It's not a question, but just a comment, Jason and Craig. A lot of praise to you both, and everyone else involved in getting us to this point with the project.
Thank you.
I'll just say I appreciate the work that went into going back and doing some value engineering and getting the cost down a little bit without sacrificing too much. The bridge is still going to be beautiful because we chose to keep a lot of the features. So.
Just a generalized comment, again, for the public here is, it doesn't seem like we're discussing this much. It's because we've discussed it 1,000 times, it feels like, over the course of the last several years, from the original genesis of the, hey, let's actually talk about making this real, through design, through debate, through funding, through, just a continuous process over years. And it's there's been a lot of staff work in it, a lot of our architects and our consultants, and a lot of conversation, debate, and discussion amongst us on council, mostly in work sessions, some up here on the dais and council and URA board now, in various discussions. So if it seems like we're making a quick decision, it's really not. This is a 5-year process that most of us have been involved in all along the way. So I'm very excited about this project, and I will gleefully be voting for it.
Any other comments from council? Yeah.
Do we have an estimated timeline if this contract is awarded to Carter and Company for the construction completion of the bridge?
We're targeting to have it done by substantially complete before school opens, 18 months from now for 2025, yeah.
2025.
So really no effect on the schedule for compressing it. We were supposed to have final completion before school. We're going to have substantial completion, so it's pretty much the same schedule, just a few weeks probably delayed for the start, for commencement.
Thank you.
Happy to make a motion.
Well,
Yeah, I was just
Taylor.
gonna say,
Yes.
you know, like I say, I know I'm on an island here a little bit, but I'm thrilled to have a bridge there. But you know, it's the cost and for me that is the issue. So, you know, even though you know, I didn't vote for doing this. I'll have all I appreciate all the work that's gone into it from the staff. I don't know that I can, in good conscience, award a contract for something that unless they can somehow shave $12 million off of that in the next few minutes, which I don't think is going to happen. That's just where it comes down to me, where I realize that it's from a special fund and all of these other things, but for me personally, it was we would like a pedestrian bridge, but it was not let's do a pedestrian bridge at any cost. And so
Would you say it was a bridge too far?
yeah, well, and that's part of the cost, is it's a very long bridge. But by the way, also props to and congratulations to the design team. I mean, it really is a beautiful piece of work, and it will be a strong addition to the city. It's, you know, and so I guess I'm with Renee as well. We've got to make sure to, you know, if we build it, we've got to make sure that the other end of it has the compelling walk-to opportunities beyond just the high school, right? The hospitality zone and some of the high density housing that could be over there and stuff like that make it really a usable thing. So anyway, that's why I'm a no vote. It's a softer no on this, but it's just because you know, I voted to not fund it just a moment ago.
Hey,
So,
Taylor, if we build it, they will come.
I hope.
You're taking over my act.
Oh, boy.
It's okay.
All
It's
right.
going all right.
All right. Well, as I said before, unless you want to say something, you good? I'm excited to hopefully, looks like get this across the finish line, at least approval-wise, and real work starts. Huge thank you to staff for all the time they've put into this. The consulting firm that did the design, which I agree is amazing. It'll be a signature project in the region. Big thank you to the community. One thing that I don't think we've mentioned yet, there was a lot of outreach on this. We had community meetings to go over the design, a lot of input from the community. We even had a competition, a vote to see which color the bridge would be painted. I wanted Bowman red. Everyone else chose white, but I'm going to deal with it.
I wanted red too.
I know.
I wanted white and red.
But
I just wanted red.
but this.
Mhm.
See the color changing red.
But as I said before, you know, this truly was. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our community, because the community spoke very loudly to Salem back when we were originally trying to put all this money together. And so a big thank you to the community for getting this over the finish line too. It'll be a great addition for Sherwood. So do we have a motion?
I will move that that we approve URA Resolution 2023-011, authorizing the agency manager to enter into a public improvement contract with Carter and Company, Inc. for construction of Highway 99 West pedestrian bridge project.
Second.
We got a motion, and Doug got the second on that one.
Discussion on the motion.
Discussion on the motion.
I am super excited.
Is that all you got?
Kudos to the community, kudos to everybody involved with electeds past and present, with community volunteers past and present, certainly staff and our consultants. Yeah, this is not a minor thing. This is a big deal, and super proud of everybody, and yeah, the community's gonna love it. Now the work, assuming the vote goes as expected, now it's gonna get busy. It was busy before, but now it's 18 months of hard work.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. All right. All those in favor of approving URA Resolution 2023-011, authorizing the agency manager to enter into a public improvement contract with Carter and Company, Inc. for construction of the Highway 99 West pedestrian bridge project, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Thank you, council. And we will now adjourn into executive session.